The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get.
He missed the complete. That is crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Elevation change, sweeping corners, blind crests, high speeds, and a whole bunch of punishing barriers ready to end your day. It's a perfect recipe for an old school track, which is why Mosport still retains its intimidating reputation more than 50 years since it was built. To take two incredibly different sports car classes onto it for multi-class racing almost certainly is asking for trouble. But that's just the sort of challenge this group savors. Who can come away the winner in the land of the North? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 11 of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Bill Soup Zahn. Behind the scenes, our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Bill, even though it's got a different name now from when it first opened, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park seems to be a perennial crowd favorite. Why is that?
Okay, well, we're talking about the place. It is Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Everyone calls it Mosport. It is located in Brownsmanville, Ontario, Canada. Now, the one thing to point out as you look at the track map is this 4-kilometer, 2.5-mile layout that you see on the screen is pretty much how this place looked when it opened in 1961. It's a rarity nowadays that racetracks aren't altered in some form or fashion to adapt to the demands of modern safety. That said, the majority of these 10 corners are fast sweepers with lots of elevation change. That means passing opportunities will be at a premium. Now, Moss Corner looks like the best place on paper, but it's really risky to attempt it into there, so expect most passes to happen into the S's. The real worry for these drivers is Clayton. That's turn 2. Now, one minor alteration for safety is in the real life, the runoff area has been paved here, but what that means is it's not quite as dangerous, but here on iRacing, the version that we're seeing on today, you still got that slippery Canadian tundra on the outside. I can almost guarantee that a few races will end at that blind, scary corner. But to fully appreciate how terrifying this place can be, let's jump on board the GSRC Audi 90 GTO and take a lap.
Alright, we're in the GSRC Audi, so let's do a lap around Mosport. Coming into turn 1, it's a medium speed downhill right, but the wall can make it tough to judge just how early you should get back on the power. Make sure and switch sides quickly because you really don't want to be offline going into Clayton. It's got an incredibly blind entry, a huge drop in elevation, and 2 apexes to hit. It's easy to see why this is considered one of the most difficult corners in racing. As you power off of there, you're immediately slamming the brakes for Quebec. The way it opens up on the exit makes it seem like an early apex is the way to go, but it's still more ideal to not turn in too early. That leads us to turn 4, which in the Audi needs a big lift just as you start to plunge down the hill. Hug the left side of the track and then use the compression at the bottom to help slow the car quicker. Moss is all about letting the car swing out, lining up your exit for the second apex, and being confident on the power. The Andretti straight is the longest acceleration zone of the whole track, so any driver that waits too long to find the gas will be regretting it all the way up the hill. You might get a hit of the draft if you're close to the car ahead, but it's going to be tricky to outbrake them into the S's. 8 is a surprisingly fast corner, plus drivers have been known to defend or attack from the outside successfully. That's because it switches back into 9, and all the while the bends are getting progressively tighter. White's corner is the slowest, and it's got a nasty tall curve to the inside that I'd advise not getting too friendly with. But hopefully, you've kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Mosport. Well, qualifying has already kicked off as we watch that lap guide here in the penultimate round of the iRacing Kamel GT Series. And while they wait to get their first lap in, their first time lap in, why don't we bring up the race details to familiarize anybody who has not watched one of these races before. As we said, last one is going to be next weekend, so 11 of 12 today, and it's a 45-minute race. Now, what that means is you cannot expect them to come in for a scheduled stop today, no stop for fuel. And with the points being official racing, of course, their safety rating and their I rating are up for grabs out there. A lot to fight for. And Bill, it seems like we're both kind of in agreement. We expect just a little bit of chaos around here today.
Yeah, it's a tight layout, multi-class racing. I think our director is going to, Christmas is coming up. He might need a new replay button in his stocking because I think we're going to be going back and looking at a lot of action. Hopefully, though, from what I've seen, is I've done my homework just to be ready to prepare for this one. The racing is always good with these guys, always exciting.
Certainly plenty of action to keep track of right now in qualifying in these first laps. Ihamaki has the temporary pole. Joni Hagner just recently topped the times in the Audi GTO class. In fact, looks like about 12 seconds between them right now, so lapping is going to happen very quickly with this being just over a minute in the GTPs. They will have their hands full pretty much the entire race trying to deal with all the traffic around this track. Nobody's got their second lap in quite yet, I'm seeing, although Ihamaki's coming across to see if he can get that 103.9 down any further. And it looks like the answer is no, so 103.9 is as good as he can do. Lepisto is not going to be there to answer, but what can Keith Ritchie have, Bill?
Qualifying is always important no matter what race you do, but here at a track like this, boy, you want to get your best position. Any cars you can pass during qualifying is one less you'll have to pass under race conditions.
Well, Ritchie's going to have to pass at least one car for the lead. He's at a 104 flat. So a 10th off of Ihamaki certainly seems to be on a great run today. The main rival in season past for Ritchie is Tapani Linuluoto. He's sitting down in 6th. A little bit of surprising qualifying for him so far, but he has one more lap that he is on right now.
Yeah, we don't have points, but Ritchie is by far and away the dominant driver in that class.
Meanwhile, in the Audis, Hagner has finished his 2 laps, and it looks like he's followed by Villi Ruola, but I do not see Brian Strodbeck here today. So it looks like going to be a bit of a different view up front for our leaders. Lindo Luoto's finishing his lap right now as we watch Trangerade work on his.
Based on some outdated scoring, Strodbeck and Hagner have been the top drivers. Now, there are some drop races that they allow for in here, so even though Brian's not here today, that may not hurt him as much as we might imagine.
And on your screen, you saw Lena Luoto manage to get himself up into 5th on the qualifying. He's actually been topped by Jamie Hall, who's in 3rd. And Hall has been a bit of a surprise at the end of the season, has found some pace. He's won a race on the broadcast, his first time doing that ever in the Kamel GT series. And he's going to start 3rd today. He's been teammates with Keith Ritchie. I have to imagine the proximity has been helping Jamie find some of that pace.
Boy, I've never had the luxury to team up with anybody that could help me, and I think they know that going in, so that's why they not team up with me. But yeah, I've noticed that as well. He is really coming along in the back half of the season.
Well, you've been able to buddy up with Jan Koemans. You haven't had a chance to get him to spill some secrets all these years?
Yeah, Jan said his advice was don't quit your day job.
So we're right on board Sean Keefe, and actually hasn't gotten a lap time in yet. He's coming through the S's now. As long as he stays clean through here, I think this should get one on the board. In the last 2 minutes of qualifying, what can he do? Crosses the line, and that gets him up into 12th. Not a bad job by Keefe.
Really, really big field. 30 cars here today. That's great, and the classes are pretty much equally split.
I see that Ove Trangrade's still out there. He's gotten his 2 laps in, but continuing to put some more warm-up in these conditions. You have to feel like that Ove might be a little bit more driven right now after having to sit through the disappointment of losing out on the Lotus 49 championship, which he led for most of that season.
Yeah, a lot of cross-pollination going on here. We just did the Lotus 79 Lotus 49 a couple hours ago, and here he is again back here. Also, Rob Olenek came over and did a little back-and-forth work for us. Olenek sitting in 6th right now in the GTP class.
Gets himself into a very good position to try and start this race. Antti Lepisto, who is going to be starting 4th, it looks like, has got himself a win as well last week here in the Kamel GT series. So let's see if he can repeat that feat. As you see, he's just hanging out in the pits right now, having taken his 2 laps. It looks like everybody's got their times in, so why don't we go through the grid, because I don't think that is going to be changing at all from here on out. Ardo Ihamaki will be on the pole with Keith Ritchie having some work to do to try and get back to the top. It's been a while since Keith has won a race here in the Kamel GT. He'll start 2nd. Jamie Hall will begin in 3rd, with the outside of row 2 being finished out by Lepisto. Tapani Liluoto will start in 5th, and he is flanked by Rob Olenek. Then in 7th, you have Lambert Brink in that position, with Michael Houghton in 8th, Nicholas Mukanos in 9th, and Martin Krejcik rounding out our top 10. A nice qualifying for Martin. Usually he's a little farther down the order. Clayton McLeod will be behind him in 11th, with John Keefe starting in 12th. Mike Kopak is in 13th, with P14 being started by Jason Dunphy. Jason Wallet will be in 15th. David Levine will be 16th, and Jerry Forkolb will start in the last and 17th position of the GTP field.
Yanni Hagner is going to be starting 1st in his class. Viaruola behind him. John Mililia. Ben Lafter is going to be in 4th. Philip Lake and Ove Trengerade make up the next row. Brian Shanahan. Franco Scurry is going to be flanking him in 25th overall. Rob Heiser and Mario Vlasic, 26th and 27th. You can see him up there as they make up row number 13. Row number 14 is Mario Vlasic. And then, I got a good one here. Broslav Rubinek. Good apologies to the Rubinek family for butchering that one. 29th, Chris Bassett and Hideki Koivisto. I know him. I've done him a lot. In 15th position. He's last on the grid.
There they are, all lined up, waiting for just a couple. Clayton McLeod, Mario Vlasic, and Tapani Liluoto, the last ones to try and get out there. We'll have a pace lap, and then we'll go racing for 45 minutes here in the penultimate round of the iRacing Kamel GT Series. And I think this might be their first time to Mosport. I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to go back and confirm that. Pretty sure they have not raced it here while we have covered this series, and I'm eager to see how they are able to handle it as the clock ticks down. Still waiting on McLeod to get back out on the course for the grid, and now he's out there. So we are able to take off for this pace lap, Bill. The thing that worries me honestly, is just, you always talk about it when we discuss multi-class racing. It's not just that it's a short track and that it's a difficult track, but also it's the switchbacks.
Right. As we watch we take this lap around. Turn 1's a right-hander, turn 2's a left-hander, turn 3's a right-hander, turn 4's a right-hander, 5 and 6 is one turn, that's a right-hander. There, 8, 9, and 10 are right, left, rights. You know, there's only a couple where you have 2 rights in a row. That means that the slower traffic is going to be coming across the track somewhere. Sometimes they come right after corner exit, sometimes they come across right before corner entrance. That always makes it difficult for the faster cars to try to figure out how to get around.
We'll see who is able to really navigate this multi-class traffic the best. Something Keith Ritchie has proven pretty adept at. Can he be topped by Ihimaki, though? Ihimaki hailing from the home of Koskenkorva vodka, of course. Which I discovered, I don't know if you remember Yair Yanis, Bill, but he visited me a couple years ago, and I had forgotten that of the gifts that he gave me, he had given me some Koskenkorva drink, but it was the kind with the salmiakki, the candy that they like over there. I can't say I've made it through it yet, and I've had it for 3 years.
Sounds like an acquired taste.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it.
You know, talking more about traffic, not only the layout of the track, but now with this large field, and I can talk about this because I've had to get out of the way of many a driver. It's how the thing spills out as well. If we end up with lots of battling going on in the GTO class, that also makes it tough for the drivers to get around, because every position, you know, if you come up to the leaders who are battling in the GTOs, if you got a 3 or 4 car battle up there, they have just as much right to battle, and they're not going to be quite as anxious to get out of the way. So it's got a little bit of patience, a little bit of strategy.
Will certainly require judgment calls on the part of both parties to figure out if it's time to give it up and let the other person by easily, or to slow up and let the other people battle.
Look how beautiful this track is, Joe. It's really a great layout. You almost expect a moose to come walking out of those woods there.
Lots of trees around here, as a lot of the classic road courses are known for, but the roof pace car peels off. Ihimaki has control. He doesn't get a good start. Look at the jump by Keith Ritchie. He already slots up into the lead, past Ihimaki's Nissan. Jamie Hall slots into third, but he gets a slow exit. There might have been contact between himself and Lepisto. They get to Clayton, but we got to go to the Audis.
Much more control than what you had in the GTPs. Hogner out in front, Ruola right behind him. Maliabi in third position. They pretty much race in the order that they qualified, Laughter and Lake.
You need it to be single file through this fast left-hander of Clayton. I am wondering if that damage is going to hurt Lepisto, though, up in the prototypes. They're already coming through Moss as they accordion back together. A little bit of too-wide action between John Keefe, who comes out ahead of Michael Kopak. The robotics engineering expert, unfortunately, under threat from another car as Wallet gets a run on him. Not quite fast enough, and he's being covered off on the inside by Kopak, it looks, as now they hit the S's. Oh, and an accident ahead of them. That's John Keefe getting into Martin Kraytrick. Car scatter. Oh, and Keefe is on his lid. See how that started.
It was Kraytrick got into it, car number 25.
Yeah, Kraytrick's trying to go around the outside, and it looks like Jason Dunphy is the one that unfortunately scooped up the car of Keefe. Just the nature of the shape of these cars can make that happen. You can see the extensive damage on the side of Kraytrick as we come back live. Unfortunately, that puts John Keefe at the very back. Dunphy is the last car running now, and Kraytrick is just ahead of him, limping around the track practically. Up at the front, as we check in on our leaders, Ritchie streaking away from Ihimaki early on. He's got a second over him. A little bit farther back, the Audis are slipping farther and farther away, and soon are going to be gobbled up as they come back around. But for the moment, Hagner has himself as well, just over a second over Rolla, and is unfazed.
Yeah, the big battle is back for third in class, actually fourth, with Ben Laughter. He's being ran down by Philip Lake. Also watching the over at Trengrade in there. Another good battle back a little bit farther. Shanahan and Scurry going at it.
Lots of close racing in the Audis at the moment, and actually Lake's got a run on Laughter. Looks to the inside of White's corner, but just can't break late enough. Laughter and Lake have been going at it a lot lately. And in fact, I'm pretty sure that the car coming up to them, Ove Trengrade, has also been in plenty of battles with these two. So this is probably round 4 or 5 or something for this trio.
Yeah, both the top two drivers lost momentum there and fell back into Trengrade's grasp. That's the best battle in that group. The top 3 have distanced themselves by about 20 car lengths each between them.
So watch this tight battle plunge back down the hill into Moss Corner. Lots of compression here where the cars were able to brake incredibly late. You can see how close together they get as the speeds slow down. And they're going to pick back up with all the oomph and four-wheel drive that this Quattro has. Oh, and behind them we caught Vlasic spinning out. Meanwhile, Shanahan, so we watch him get by the inside as Scurry down into turn 8, and I think he's got it done now.
We don't need to go there, but Clayton McLeod got into it with O'Keefe, and they kind of pushed themselves off track. It's all okay.
Just has not been O'Keefe's day. So that's the second incident he's had in about 4 laps. Meanwhile, oh, great run by Philip Lake. He looks to the inside, but a defensive move from Ben Laughter into Quebec fends him off. And all this fighting between these guys is dropping them off of John Malia, who currently holds the last spot of the podium. A look to the inside as they come down to Moss. Holding the outside of 4 is not easy. It's not flat out in these cars. Lake has the inside of the hairpin. And finally, Lake peels that 4th place away from Laughter. And as we switch to the lead in the prototype,
look at that,
Richie. A pass into Moss as well. Wow. Did not expect that, but it looks like it kicked off with Richie going a little wide coming out of Quebec. We just saw the tail end of it. That hurt his speed. And then a brave move down the hill from Ihamaki puts the Finn into 1st.
Passing is so hard. When the opportunity presented itself, Ihamaki said, I gotta go. Makes it work.
They're going to get a lot of opportunities now as they hit the tail end of the traffic for the Audis, and it is coming thick and fast. Oh, 2-in-1 corner. Oh, Jamie Hall slides it in. 3 wide, 4 wide through there, and they all make it through. Tapani Liluoto somehow gets 2 cars in 1. Wow! Unreal. Absolutely unreal.
Wow, that is...
I'm not sure if that's trust or just blindly praying for that to go right. Let's watch on board the Finn of Tapani Liluoto. Just cannot believe he got away with this. I would like to say that was skill, but that looks like sheer dumb luck to me.
That's crystal ball racing. You knew what was going to happen.
Well, that does put Tapani up onto the podium with that move. And he's being slowed up right now. Oh, and he might lose it because Lepisto is able to peek inside. Just look at how much traffic is in the way.
If you can go to Richie right now, he was crushed. We might even want a replay of this. Talk about a driver getting buckled. Look at this.
Lepisto made contact, and their second contact. Both of those with Ove Trengrade. He goes around more cars, spinning. And that was actually Shanahan, that was Ove's teammate that he got into. Both cars right next to one another. Hit once in the side, and then twice, for good measure, by 2 different prototypes, and that was enough to finally put Shanahan into the concrete.
Shanahan already had some issues. It's going to be one race he can file away into the forget bottle folder.
And we don't have to go back to that, but a car was trying to get through the traffic in that and slid off and just could not slow the car up in time out of Clayton. That was Rob Olenek, who is now DNF'd, it looks like. Oh, and Philip Blake with a problem. Into the wall. Let's look at the replay on that one. We just managed to catch that one on screen, and that was Lambert Brink up and around the outside. Coming through turn 8. It's hard to tell if there was actual contact. Yeah, I guess there was, looking at it from my angle again. If we look at it from above here, you're going to just see the lightest of cliffs. So it looks like a bit of net code involved in that, Bill.
Yeah, I don't think he would have lost that one there on his own. It looked like when the car went around him, it turned him.
This has mixed things up significantly. Lambert Brink has got himself up into 5th. He's got Antti Lepisto behind him now. Things are all shuffled around. So as we watch this battle, just real quick, your top 5 and the prototypes are Ihamaki, Ritchie, Hall, Houghton, and Brink.
And Ritchie has just been crushed by traffic. When we had all that chaos that was going on, he was actually boxed in with a Audi in front of him, to his outside, to his inside, and behind him. He's literally diamonded by cars.
Oh, and we got to go back to Lepisto. Almost had an opportunity as they went by Hagner. And meanwhile, Vurola.
Oh, yeah, he got into it with it looks like it was McLeod.
Yeah, McLeod's Nissan was coming through as we watch on the replay in whites. And McLeod actually lost it in front of him.
Gets loose, yeah.
We are barely 10 minutes into this race, and there have been a lot of major incidents. We watched one more time on board from Ruola.
Nowhere to go.
The good news is, Bill, is there is no incident limit in this series. Although I think there is a patience limit for a number of drivers out there. Ruola's able to continue on in 6th position, but not without some serious damage on that Marlboro Audi. Closest fight on track is still for 5th place in the prototypes. Lepisto, after having his own set of setbacks, is continuing to put the pressure on Lambert Brink's number 10.
Yeah, despite all the contact that's been going on, there's not a real battle for position so much as we look outside of the wine bottle, the holder.
I like to call it the 007 shots.
Okay, that's a good one too.
I'm surprised that he's having trouble trying to get past Lambert. Lambert qualified in 7th, so he's a couple positions behind, but apparently the racecraft or the race pace of Brink is proving a little bit too difficult for Lepisto for now. They're coming up on the car of Michael Houghton, so we're going to have a 3-way fight for 4th soon enough.
Boy, a lot of talk going over. John Keefe talking about where he's going to be. I'm going to be outside. And the guy he's talking with, no, I'm going to be outside.
And that was Joni Hagner. So that wasn't a driver that doesn't know what he's doing there. Joni might not have his radio on as John was talking to him is what could have happened there. And I kind of don't blame Joni because a lot of the advice that the Audis are given are just to run your racing line.
Yeah, that's the advice they give them, and then when they do, sometimes that's where are you going? I understand.
John Malia, we haven't talked a whole lot about him, but how about a great effort here running 2nd, although 10 seconds behind our GTO leader. He's getting lapped by the GTPs of Levine and Dunphy.
Even though he is 10 seconds behind the leader, he has 5 seconds back to lap her.
After rounding out our podium, also carrying the battle scars that many will have by the end of this race. Commodore 64 Audi continuing on of a train grade as well, somehow managing to stay in 4th despite all of what's happened around him.
Oh, let's go maybe get a replay of this with Wallet. If we can stay on it right now, Wallet and Shanahan really going at it. They've been banging. No, it's not Shanahan, it's a
Forkove.
Forkove, yeah.
Yeah, that happened down into Moss. It was Wallet trying to take advantage of some traffic in the form of Vili Ruola, but unfortunately, Ruola went back in front of Wallet at the last second, so really had nowhere to go. You see how that second Apex tries to steer in, and there was a Nissan there for him. Meanwhile, Lepisto continues to have trouble getting past Brink, if we could go to that battle, and he's got Vlasic just in front of him, putting him in quite a pickle.
That was sweet, Joe.
And all this traffic has allowed Lenaluoto to really gain on these two, although, actually, now that I look at it, Lenaluoto is a lap down, so he is not in this fight. Working their way past Koivisto. This is the closest we've seen Lepisto recently. They could just get the run off the corner. Gonna climb up that Mario Andretti straight. Looks like once again, I wonder if there's some aero damage, Bill, on Lepisto.
Doesn't seem to have a lot of straight line speed, that's for sure. As we work about 1/3 of the race in now, things have settled down a little bit. Knock on fake wood here.
Oh, and a bunch more traffic just ahead of them. That's Shanahan, and Houghton is going by the car of Ruola. They're going to catch him on the front straight, at least temporarily. All three of them slipping through Shanahan. Oh, but look at the traffic holding up Brink once again, and once again, just... Oh, there's a car off. Scurry escapes in his Audi to the runoff on the outside of Clayton and lives to tell the tale.
Yeah, now if you look up front, here he has been running down. Here comes Richie. Now they got the lap car up ahead, or the slower car of Malia up in front they're going to work on.
Oh, he's within the slipstream. He looks to the inside. Here comes Keith Ritchie. You can defend from the outside of these S's. What is Iamaki going to do? He's brave onto the brakes, deep into there, and takes it back before they even get to turn 9.
Now, I've been watching this. Richie has done it on pace. It has not been traffic. He has been coming.
May not have had the qualifying time. Certainly is fast in the race conditions.
And they got clear track ahead of them now. These guys can race legitimately here for maybe a couple laps.
Well, I think if they'll be lucky if it's half a lap, honestly. They're gaining quickly on
I'm
Agner.
not used to the closing speed. You're right.
Iamaki pulling away on the first half of the course, though. Wonder if it's a difference in the way that these two have set up their cars. Maybe a little bit sleeker in a straight line for Keith Ritchie, which will certainly help him try and make the overtake. This time he's much, much farther back from the fin.
Sure is.
As they climb back up the hill. Just an update. Lepisto finally got past... Oh, no, he's not fully past Brink. They're side by side. Coming up the same back straight. And they're going to have Jerry Forkolb, who is a lapped car in the same class just ahead of him. And you can see the difficulty in the straight line speed for Lepisto as he just dropped off like a rock. Bonnie gets by, but again, he's a lap down. He's not in this fight. Lucanos, however, is, as he holds 7th and could be eyeing a top 5, depending on how they get through all this mess of traffic. Everybody gets through clean. So despite finally getting up next to him, Lepisto drops back a full 2 seconds, or excuse me, about a second from Lambert Brink. Sounds like we, however, have a battle between Ruola and Shanahan, Bill.
Yeah, this is for 5th in class. Shanahan's had a rough day. He is back there trying to run down Ruola right now.
Both these drivers have had rough days.
Oh, let's go to Iamaki. Got to go to Iamaki. He just lost it.
Coming out of White's corner. What happened to Iamaki coming into White's corner? We're going to see the replay. Just under braking. Here he is entering the S's up into 8. It's all looking smooth. Then he'll turn into 9. The car must not have been settled because watch it just loop on him. Richie sneaks through. Let's watch on board. We're going to be able to see the hands here, Bill.
Yeah, I wish I could give you some type of color commentary on this one.
It looked like he caught a little bit of the inside curb there from that onboard.
And it just took off to the left. He is done. His day is done. He's out from the lead.
Well, those of you who have watched are familiar with us always talking about how these Nissans do not like curbs. And that is a graphic illustration. But it has handed over the lead to Richie by a whole 15 seconds over Michael Houghton. Oh, and Hall is on the side of the road.
Yeah, he was just on he was going straight, and all of a sudden we get a little smoke coming out of the tailpipes.
Oh, that was coming into Moss, downshifting a little too quickly, it looks like.
Hall was racing in 6th position at the time.
And there she goes. Could have potentially, if he had a H-pattern shifter, could have just put it into the wrong gear.
Meanwhile, that Shanahan-Ruola battle continues. They're about 4 or 5 car lengths apart. They're working on some prototypes going through.
Going to be Kraytrick trying to squeeze through. And then they've got Jason Dunphy as well. Those two are not fighting for position, thankfully.
Yes, they are. In fact, Kraytrick just got that pass made, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. Or, I'm sorry.
Oh, excuse me, I was rewound.
Now there goes Dunphy by. And now here, there they're turning.
Tips him around. A common sight coming out of Moss. Both are able to continue. Probably not very happy with one another. Let's look at the replay. Traffic coming into that a little bit. That was Ove Trangarade, and it looked like the car of Dunphy was so focused on the car ahead, didn't notice that Kraytrick had stuck his nose in.
They both continue to race after that. Dunphy gets the car out of the parking lot first. He's in 8th right now. Kraytrick behind him. Kraytrick's coming in. Yes, the car was too damaged to race.
We've had a surprisingly small amount of cars DNF so far. Philip Lake is out of this one. Ihimaki is parked. He might try and get back out there. Jamie Hall as well is parked. And we suspect he might try to attempt to regain whatever positions he could in the final 23 minutes. But card not parked is Joni Hagner. He's been flying. It's a whole 20 seconds. This is becoming almost routine for the Finn, as he has had a lot of huge gaps over the course of the season that his wins have come by.
And a very calm 20 seconds that he put out there. His impression of the race, when he watches the replays, if he's so kind enough to watch us, you have no understanding about what his race was like and what everyone else was going through. He is just having a nice Saturday night drive in Finland. Let's look at 20th overall. This is still Shanahan and Ruola still going at it.
Those two have been joined at the hip for sure. They're coming up to turn 8 one more time. Ruola a little bit too far back. This is just going to be A matter of Rula trying to set himself up now. Who's going to see the traffic coming behind him in the form of Houghton. And he slips through with ease.
Let's get a replay of Brink. This is happening right now as I talk about it. Brink. Oh, and Brink is around.
And we're seeing Mukanos get off into the barriers. He's going to go by Brink.
That's all part of all part of the same thing. It was a pinata full of bees. And some kid took it back to it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the pinata was Hideki Koivisto, who got bounced around, and so did the Audi of Franco Scurry. You can see in the background, spun around, that red prototype coming back on is the car of, I believe that was Brink. Most of them able to continue despite that. And Clayton McLeod having some more issues. He got an apology from someone. That was Michael Kopak. And almost a carbon copy of what we saw before.
Yep. Great job from the guys behind. Wallet slows down. Keefe slows down as well. They pretty much stopped the car right on the top. Scurry as well to stay out of it.
Yeah, 3 wide to sneak through an accident is not something you commonly see. A note for the future then, I suppose, is that if you think you've got an opportunity on the car ahead into the second apex of Moss, maybe better not to try it. There behind Clayton McLeod had an off from Kopak once again. That car struggling now, even though he's in 7th. That car behind him is Rob Olenek. He is not for position. He got himself back out on track. Oh, and Scurry into the wall. That's looks like the exit of Clayton on the left side. Yes, it was.
I've been busy. Have we talked much about the driver running P2 in the prototypes? He's having a nice run. Michael Houghton up there?
No, we haven't really said a whole lot about Houghton. Houghton's been very quiet. Meanwhile, I see that David Levine is pitted in again. They have no scheduled stops. I'm going back to see if I can figure out. Looks like he just had an off. We don't need to get a replay of it. Coming through Quebec, where he took the turn a little too hot and found himself into the barriers. So yet another driver having to deal with repairs. In the meantime, Hall has DNF'd now for sure. So has Ihamaki. They joined Philip Blake. I'm guessing Levine will be too, as they've only got 19 minutes left on the clock.
Finally, the cars beginning to sprinkle out evenly around the track right now. Not too many clusters.
I guess then now's a good... Oh, and actually Keith Ritchie gets turned around. Keith Ritchie in Clayton with traffic. Steeps keeps it out of the barrier somehow. The Silk Cut Jaguar. Let's look at the replay. This was with the car of Franco Scurry.
Boy, Scurry just couldn't keep it to the inside. The car just drifted out.
That was right in front of Hagner. We're going to watch from onboard his view. You know, I don't think Scurry is going to have to paint his car after this one because he's got just about every other color on there now. Well, Ritchie's lead has meant that Houghton is still behind him, but only 3 seconds back now.
Boy, that was an awfully big hit that Ritchie took. He's got 18 minutes to keep that damaged car out there.
He said on the
lap times.
He said on the radio he's slow. Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that to see if Houghton can run him down. If so, I'm pretty sure this will be Houghton's first win.
Looking at the gap right now, unless Houghton is stuck in traffic, Ritchie is opening it up. Yeah, Houghton has clear air in front of him. I think one of those cases where even with a damaged car, Ritchie's still pretty fast.
Question is handling good enough?
Yeah, it's See how it plays in traffic. David Levine just had a spin.
Oh, so he did try to get his car back out, but it doesn't seem to be repaired well enough.
Antti Lepisto just did a great job of getting around him. Joe, this is a different animal for me to call. I'll tell you, I was a little bit overwhelmed. You hear how quiet I was. The action is hot and heavy. It's a matter of being fast, but you also have to have some incredible reflexes. There's chaos all over the place.
That is pretty typical of a iRacing Camel GT race. However, this is high even for the chaos that they tend to experience. In all of this, a quick highlight, Antti Lepisto, remember, he's had multiple incidents that he's been involved in or had to avoid. He's got himself back up to the podium, and I think that's partly through him just recovering, and partly because so many other people have had problems.
Yeah.
He has to woe up quite a bit through Clayton with Rob Heiser in front of him. Rob didn't do anything wrong there, just typical multi-class racing around Mosport. And Bill, we've still got a third of the race to go, a fourth of the race to go. Or is this a fifth? Have I done GSRC math again?
I think it's a third. We have 45-minute race. There's 15 minutes left.
There we go. Okay. GSRC math once again. Oh, and Jason Wallet stopped, and Clayton. This one didn't make any contact.
Ran up on the back of Trent Garade. I think he just lifted or got on the brakes, and the front end got heavy.
Wow, Jerry Forkolb had an eyeful on that one, if we want to get a good onboard. Great reflexes, honestly, because you're coming over that crest blind, Bill.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I can tell right now. That's well, he had a pretty good view of it, and then he decides to go out there. Nice job. Keeps it. Gets a little bit of that Canadian tundra.
Well, he'll have to bill them for cutting the grass down there on the outside of the corner, as has many other drivers. Forkolb is currently sitting in the top 10. Haven't given him a whole lot of screen time.
Yeah, I can just go ahead and follow up on that Richie interval back to, how are we pronouncing that? Is
Houghton?
Houghton? Okay, there we go. Yeah, he's opened it up.
That lap, it closed down a little bit, but I think that was more due to traffic than anything. Billy Rolla and Brian Shanahan, in all of this, still haven't separated and are still close together. Rolla hasn't been able to get past him. You know, another thing that really doesn't help, I think, the traffic around here, Bill, is you can see visually the difference in cornering speeds between these two cars. And with this track being mostly corners, I feel like that's maybe adding to it.
Well, we've seen drivers spin from the lead. I mean, have trouble that are racing on for podiums, yeah, on their own.
Climbing up the hill, Rolla not close enough to attack yet again. In fact, lost time this lap on Shanahan. This is for 5th position within that class.
We didn't talk much about the weather. It's late afternoon skies, and track temperature only 81 degrees Fahrenheit.
Not terribly slippery, thankfully. Going back to Chris Bissett. He's got the car of Robanek just behind him. This is for position. Fighting for 9th. In fact, because of the split between Rolla and Shanahan, this is the closest fight on track that we have right now.
Yeah, let's go to Olenek. He brought his car back up, and now he's on his lid. He just got in it with Clayton McLeod. They were not racing for position. Olenek was faster. He's on the inside. Right now, he is vertical. Now he's horizontal, and now he's vertical again.
Looks like just kind of steered into the apex and fortunately didn't give enough space for the two of them to make it through. So Olenek takes a tow and is now absolutely DNF'd. To confirm from before, Levine as well has exited the server. He will not take part anymore in this race.
Hey, let's go to the prototype lead, down to 1.8 seconds.
And as we watch Clayton McLeod, though, on screen for the moment, actually, we've got a fight brewing here for 6. Sorry to jump us around, but McLeod on the move as he comes up to Kopak. Gonna go back downhill as they complete yet another lap. And then over the rise they go through Clayton. Gonna have traffic in the form of Hagner. Oh, and it holds up Kopak just a little bit, but not enough for McLeod to get his nose in. Down through 4. Braking hard for the Moss hairpin. They've got a few more cars, but they're going to catch them on the backstretch. Bronislav Romanek just ahead of them. McLeod not without his fair share of troubles, wanting to make up for lost time out here. Romanek just a little bit in the way of the car of McLeod. Holds him up just slightly more than Kopak. Oh, and Villirola, in all of his fighting with Brian Shanahan, something has gone wrong, and he's actually just lost the spot to Koivisto. And as we watch on board with Rolla, what we couldn't see was in his mirror, he had John Keefe coming up very fast. And Keefe was a little bit indecisive. You're going to see here, Bill. I almost wonder if this kind of distracted him enough that he missed his brake marker.
Yeah, the track's to the left. That's all right. Once again, the Canadian Moose are not going to be happy with the length of the grass that these guys are taking away. They're going to be hungry. We talked a little bit about Koivisto. He's our hard charger. He is up. Boy, he's up 10 positions. I think 11 positions, actually.
And that's overall. He's gotten 6 positions within his class, which is still impressive, considering there's not too many Audis out there.
Right. 7 now as he gets around Rollo, who had that trouble.
A nice job from Koivisto. He seems to be one of those drivers that has really kind of picked up on the ability to just keep the car clean and get it to the finish line and gain positions that way.
Another driver that we just saw in the Lotus 49 earlier this morning, or this evening, depending on your position on the globe.
Looks like he might be lapped here soon. I think that's Hagner coming up on him. Oh, no, that is not actually. Oh, this is for position, actually. Rolla's refound his pace and is trying to run down Hideki Koivisto to get himself back into 6th, which he lost.
Yeah, Rolla has been spending the whole day looking at the back of Shanahan's bumper. Then he made that mistake. Now he's got the fin to deal with.
Paraffins, actually, out there. Rolla is trying his best to melt away that lead that Koivisto has got from him.
Paraffins always works best for me, especially when I'm swimming.
Well, they're going to be interrupted momentarily by Richie.
Zoop, zoop. That's how Keith does it.
Very decisive moves Whoa, sneaking up the inside though. Houghton is pushing hard. He wants to take this win away. That could give an opportunity to Rolla because that slowed up Koivisto down into Quebec. But I don't think he's close enough, and Rolla's going to have to wait as they hit the hairpin.
Joe, we talked about how Richie's car, maybe the handling is bad. He still has speed when he can race by himself, but my gosh, every time he gets to traffic, that's the only thing that's keeping Houghton in this thing.
Yeah, I think Richie's having to make some really impressive moves at this point to try to keep this up. Poor Houghton getting caught out by Shanahan once again. Meanwhile, McLeod and Kopak still going at it. Remember, McLeod had that incident a little bit earlier with the lapped car. He's trying to recover.
They got Ove Trengrade to get around. Trengrade does a good job of staying out of the way. Oh, it's going to hurt the exit, though, of McLeod. Nah, he gets it okay. They work their way through Moss.
Oh, no, I think that definitely did hurt the exit. These Nissans notorious for being difficult on corner exit because of the way the turbo spools up, giving them the power exactly when they don't want it.
And if you have a bad corner 6, you pay for it for a long time. It's a long back straight.
Yeah, that set him back a whole second from Kopak, what was down to 4/10 earlier.
And again, he runs up on the back of Laughter, and that's going to slow him down as well.
Things have spread apart quite a bit in the GTP class. With about 5 minutes to go, let's give you a rundown of the top 5 of each of the classes. Keith Ritchie still leading, but having to hustle now to keep Michael Houghton behind. And then in third, you've got Antti Lepisto, who's going by Jason Dunphy.
We got a big crash, Joe. McLeod into the back of Kopak. Kopak on his lid. This one was violent.
And this started with Kopak making a mistake. That looks like the exact thing I just spoke of, that turbo kicking in right when he doesn't want it. Oh, and Keith Ritchie has fallen out of the lead while we were watching the replay. Let's take a look at this replay.
Just a mistake from Ritchie as he's working around Trengrade. He gets the left sides off in the grass, then he has to take avoiding action.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was going to say, is he had to stop, and Houghton did get into the back of McLeod. My goodness. So what does this do for the difference between the two cars now that they come across the line about 7 seconds? Oh no, Keith Ritchie has to pit. He has too much damage. Lepisto's going to go by. Mukanos continues on. Mukanos is going to get him as well.
With 5 minutes of racing to go, he had it. And it slipped away.
Nothing is guaranteed here in the Great White North. Michael Houghton may have 3.5 minutes to go, but what he has seen today is probably going to make him incredibly wary of every input he has on this car, of every lap traffic he comes upon. Flashing his lights, trying to make sure that Franco Scurry knows that the leader is coming through. I'm sure the nerves starting to come into effect inside that Commodore Nissan. A mere 3 laps to go.
That's the kind of... Go ahead, Joe.
Ritchie has retired. He is not able to get back out on track. He's done.
That's the kind of news that weighs heavy on Yanni Hagner up there with a 30-second lead over Malia. Just hoping to avoid trouble here for these last 2.5 minutes of racing.
Well, we've had some attrition, but not as much as I expected. As
really?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars are out.
I got to come back and do another one of these next week. I'm going to have to take some vitamins before the call.
Yeah, certainly give a watch to some of the previous ones this season, Bill, because they are action-packed. Here we see Ben Laughter looking at a podium in the GTOs. Considering we had 10 or 30 cars start, and we have less than 10 cars DNF'd. So at least 2/3 of the field able to make it to the checkered flag. Not a bad feat. Although you could argue that McLeod and Kopak are done. They're still sitting in their stalls, I think, hoping they get that last bit of repair.
I think this is a simple stat that tells you about lap traffic. We've been racing for 45 minutes, but the leader of the GTOs are 4 laps down compared to the GTP. So that shows you there's lap traffic, and then traffic, and then traffic, and then traffic. They got to go through a lot of cars.
And there's only 4 cars on the lead lap overall. Lambert Brink in 4th,
Right.
Nicholas Mucano's 3rd, Antti Lepisto in 2nd. And of course, our leader Houghton, who's going to take the white flag this time by. And is this Lino Luoto? It is. Lino Luoto is going to get himself back on the lead lap potentially here, if he wants to. He's run down Michael Houghton. It looks like he's going to wait behind. He's slowing up. What a race from Michael Houghton. He's got a 10-second lead over Antti Lepisto. He doesn't have to push it here. Only a minute lap. It's a short one around Mosport in the Nissan. You can see even with traffic slowing him up, Lino Luoto is not willing to try and overtake Michael Houghton. One last time as they got a car off through Moss. Able to get by safely. That's Robinek that he's now streaming past.
Oh.
And Houghton's going to let him through. Houghton is going to let 5 cars onto the lead lap. There goes Tapani, Lino Luoto. 3 more corners to go. Michael Houghton looking for his first win on the broadcast races here in the iRacing Kamel GT Series as he comes out of whites. He's going to do it today at Mosport. And Joni Hagner is going to have 1 full lap to go around.
Well, then let's go to Laughter in 3rd in class right now. He's being pestered by Trengarade. This is a battle for the final podium spot. Look at the run that Trengarade has here.
He's trying to come up around the outside. He's got it side by side with him. If he could just get his nose in through 9. Laughter losing momentum, tries to break deep, gets back ahead of him. Could be a last gasp effort from Trengarade, but it's not to be, so Laughter will finish on the podium. Hagner, with all that's been going on, doesn't seem to be as willing to do his usual drifts because he has nobody on the same lap as him to challenge, so he really could if he wanted to. Let's see what he does. You haven't seen the celebrations that this Finn tends to put on yet, Bill, and he's not going to drift for us here in the final corners, it looks like. There he goes.
There it is.
There's the finish flick. And another one through whites, using that 4-wheel drive. The number 3 comes across the line to take the win here in Canada. And one more down the hill through turn 1 for good measure. He loves to do this, Bill. All right, that's going to close it up here for now at least, but we'll be back after a short break with the official results as well as driver interviews. And on screen, stick around because we've got all the upcoming races here on GSRC. welcome back to Mosport. I hope you've caught your breath. We had to step aside for a second to do so ourselves. And so did Michael Houghton. I'm sure he was cheering, though, as soon as he came across the line as he gets a win here in the iRacing Kamel GT Series, surviving all the madness. Antti Lepisto recovered after being sent all over the order. He finished in second. Nicholas Mukanos rounds out our podium in the GTPs. Lambert Brink as well was kind of all over the place. He started in seventh and still managed to finish in fourth. Tapani Linoluoto could have maybe thought about a win earlier on, but started fifth and finished fifth. Martin Krajcik was incredibly proud of himself, went all the way to the back early in the race, even though he started in 10th, and he finished in 6th. Jason Wallet was behind him in 7th, with John Keefe finishing in 8th. Jerry Forkolb was 9th, and rounding out our top 10, and of our Nissans that finished was Keith Ritchie.
Then our GTO winner is 11th overall, first in class. That is Yanni Hagner. Then you had a couple prototypes in there, Clayton McLeod and Mike Kopak. They go, what would that be, 11th and 12th in class. Then we get back to the GTOs where John Melia was second. Ben Laughter. Ove Trengarade was not able to get around Laughter. He finishes 4th in class. Brian Shanahan, Hideki Koivisto, Mario Vlasic, Bronislav Robinek in 20th position. Good, I'm done. Joe, back over to you.
Actually, where did you leave off there, Bill?
Bronislav Robinek. I said it twice. It was so much
All
fun.
right. Chris
21st.
Bissett finishes in 21st with Vili Ruola in 22nd. Rob Heiser comes home behind him in 23rd, and Franco Scurry with quite a few problems along the way, but he managed to get away with quite a bit of contact in 24th. Then we got our DNFs in the GTP, Jason Dunphy, David Levine, Jamie Hall, Rob Olenek, Ardo Yamaki, and then Philip Blake in the GTOs. And with that, let's talk to our winner, Michael Houghton, about his race as he went from 8th to 1st. What a feat. And Michael, I have to ask, was there a switch that flipped when you saw that there was a mistake for Ritchie and that he was within sight? Did you go from survival mode to push mode?
Pretty much. I did not think I would be able to make this race because of work, so I did no practice the whole week. And then I was able to make it, and I did 15 laps before I actually joined the race. I'd never run this combination before. So yeah, after I saw Keith had that mistake and my switch turned on, I went into hunt mode. And unfortunately, we got kind of taken out by Clayton there near the end, and I wish I would have kept going till the end.
You certainly gave us some excitement. And your thoughts on this combination? Is this the first time that the Kamel GT series has come to Mosport, or have you guys done this before?
I believe they've done it before, but before my time.
Would you like to see it return? Because it was a wild one.
Yeah, I like this. This was fun, and I practiced enough for it. I mentally I already had an idea what was going to be happening. It was going to be a disaster, but I survived.
Well, you've got yourself a win here on the broadcast. Is this your first time getting a win on the Kamel GT broadcasts?
No, I got one the last race of last season, Road Atlanta. Remember when Keith
right.
lost it? Yep.
That's right, and you gave us a thriller there as well. Well, congratulations. That's number 2. Let's see if you can make it a hat trick somewhere down the line. That was a great one, and couldn't be more happy for you, bud.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
That was Michael Houghton, our winner overall and in the GTP class. We also have our winner in the GTOs. Much different circumstances for Yoni Hagner, who is going to talk to Bill.
Yoni, congratulations on the win. Let's start at the beginning of the race. You got a good jump, and then you had probably 7 or 8 laps of just you racing by yourself, just trying to build up the gap.
Yeah, I was surprised at how fast Ville was today. So, well, I tried to help him with the lines and such, and he's getting quite good. But first, I take a bit carefully because I didn't want to lose it by a stupid mistake, and then there happened something to Will, and I started to take even more carefully. But at one point the race, there was like 15 minutes left. My TeamSpeak crashed and iRacing jumped at the window and I got horrible stutter, so I needed to like stop and lose like 10 seconds to get it full screen again. So it was challenging.
When you do multi-class racing, do you prefer to be in the slower class? Because you did a really good job of running quick times, but nevertheless staying out of the way. Yeah,
I'm always running on the slower class. I don't know why, but it's much better for me, and I know that I'm really good in traffic situations always.
Do you find Mosport difficult with all the switchbacks there, kind of getting left and right and left and right?
Yeah, you need to be careful because you don't want to change lanes too close Nissan's front end, so you need to give up sometimes a bit of time, but it's same for everyone.
Well, I enjoyed watching your race, and I really enjoyed the victory lap as well. That's an impressive job of sliding that car around, drifting that car through the corners.
I screwed the Moss corner up, so you didn't see that.
All right, congratulations on the win and on the good season you're having.
Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic season for Joni Hagner. He's taken many wins out there on the broadcast. Up next, we're going to talk to third in the prototypes, and that is Nick Mukanos, as we pull him into the booth and get him mic'd up to see how his race went. Nick, I get the sense that you were one of those guys that was kind of a little all over the place, having to avoid accidents and slow down for various things. How did you make yourself all the way up from 9th to 3rd?
I don't know. I have no idea how that happened. I took damage almost immediately on turn 3, and I had no top speed after that, so I thought I was done, but then I saw the smoke and car parts flying all around and somehow ended up in 3rd place.
This seemed to really push some people in terms of dealing with traffic. Do you feel like there are lessons that can be learned from this one that drivers need to maybe apply in the future? Because we heard a couple tempers flaring on this race.
Yeah, I think there's definitely lessons. I think this track kicked off Keith making the traffic guides, and we actually spent a lot of time in practice talking about it, but I think it's just this combination is so difficult to deal with.
Well, the next one is going to be Suzuka. That also has a lot of switchbacks and is, if anything, more technical. Are you looking forward to that? Do you consider that a strong one for you?
I like Suzuka, and the last time we were there, I wrecked myself, so it's time for redemption.
All right, that sounds like a good attitude to head in with. Well, congratulations on a podium, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yep, thanks.
I think we have time for one more if our director gives us the okay. And it looks like we've got enough time for Tapani Lindaluoto. We've really got a lot of prototypes this week, as the 5th place driver is going to talk to Bill about what could have been a little bit higher finish, but was not to be.
A very hard-fought 5th place finish. You know, we talk about sometimes the seas parting and the drivers being like Moses going through. You were kind of like the Pharaoh. I thought you were going to get through there, and then it closed up on you, and you drowned it.
Yeah, not every day you get a white flag twice in the same race, so it was quite interesting. It's a pity I got into that mess early on, but it was quite fun. The car was okay after I got it fixed, and tried my best picking up the order.
Yeah, you fell all the way back to 11th, and little by little got through there. Did you have any more trouble other than the accident that you had on lap 7?
No, it was quite fine. The Audis were quite fine. It's not a big deal. You kind of know what the Audis will do, so I was more worried about the other Nissans around me. So, yeah, not much trouble after that.
You happy with the way your season has gone so far, as we just have the final race left?
Well, I have been away a bit too much. I a couple of weeks missed before this week, so I wish I could have been around more. But other than that, yeah, it's been pretty good.
What is on the iRacing service? What is your favorite car? What's your car of choice?
Well, it's Nissan and Lotus 79. Those two.
About just about 10 years apart, but both old school. Congratulations on that. Good luck.
Real quick, Bill, I have one ththing that I wanted to ask Tapani about. We saw an incredible moment early on in this race where you went 3 wide down through turn 1, right up against that wall. Was that intentional? Did you know that you could make that, or was that a sheer luck moment for you?
Well, I saw there was some trouble ahead. I think Nissan was kind of sideways with Audis around him, so I was just trying to go the other way than sliding cars were. So I took the inside line against the wall. There's a bit more room there if you're a bit lucky, and it worked.
It worked just barely. I think we have it up here on the replay right now. Oh no, it's a different moment in the race. Our director is trying to let us know if it is or isn't. I don't think this is the right moment here. This was the incident. Unfortunately, a less happy time. Yeah. Well, anyways, congratulations to Pony, at least on recovering to a top 5, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
It's Bonnie Lindo Luoto. And with that, we are going to close up today. Of course, we want to thank the iRacing Kamel GT community for helping bring these broadcasts to air. They do a lot of organization behind the scenes to make sure that they can help us get everything up. And of course, thanks to Rob Olenek and Andrew Backey, who organized the VCR Championship behind the scenes. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out. We're on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, and we're on Facebook at just simply Global Sim Racing Channel. Now, as we mentioned, we're going to Japan for the final round. That'll be Suzuka, Saturday, December 2nd. That'll be at 12 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.